remember in the early 80s when Centipede came to my local arcade. I remember walking in and hearing those great sounds coming from the machine of those mushrooms being destroyed and those spiders jumping around. It was a very, very popular game in my arcade. It usually had a crowd around it for, probably took me at least a couple weeks before I was able to get up to the machine and actually play it. And when I did, it was so much fun. Now, I love trackball games. Now, before this, a trackball game I liked to play a lot of was the Atari football game from 1978. I used to put a hurdle on that trackball to get my guy to run down the screen. But when this came out, I thought it was a really, really cool arcade game that Atari came up with. It's actually quite a bit of fun. Later on in life, as I got older and I started dating more, my wife and I, well, my then soon-to-be wife, we used to go on dates to the movie theater, and at the local theater that we go to, they had a Centipede machine there. So we'd like to go a little bit early, and we'd play a few rounds of Centipede, and we always had this little joke going on that whoever lost had to buy popcorn. Well, I lost every time. Well, not on purpose. My wife's really good at playing Centipede. And then years later after that, my wife loved Centipede so much. I did have a Centipede arcade machine at one time, but I had to sell when I actually moved to another house because I didn't have room for it anymore. So I had my buddy Dwayne from Arcade USA build her a little Centipede-cade that she plays quite often, and it's actually a pretty neat little machine. But then it came out on the Atari 2600. I think it was maybe 82 or so. I can't remember exactly when it came out. But I do remember seeing it at my local KB Toys and Hobby. I had to pick the game up because I did like it in the arcade. I brought it home, fired it up. Now, I fully expected that the graphics were going to be blocky because that's how it is on the 2600. But the gameplay was top-notch. It was spot on. It's fast. It's frenzy. It's actually a lot of fun to play. If you look past the graphics of the game, the elements are all there. You know, you got your spiders jumping around. You got the fleas dropping mushrooms on the playfield. You got the little scorpions poisoning things that cause the centipede to drop down to the bottom really fast. I used to play this game also with the CX22 trackball controller I used to use on my Atari 800 XL. And it plays okay. You got to put it in joystick mode. But it's not as responsive as just using the regular joystick. And I find I do much better playing this game using the Atari joystick instead of the trackball on it. Only for the 2600. This game was put on a lot of the Atari flashback units as well. So when you pick up an Atari flashback, 2 or 3, 4, whatever, you'll probably find Centipede as one of the games included on those flashback consoles. So now, let's take a look at what came in the box. Centipede! What a great arcade translation to the Atari 2600. Box art's kind of neat looking. It's kind of plain in my opinion, but I do like the picture here of the little elf guy with his magic wand fighting the evil centipede. I never thought the little guy was an elf in the arcade. This looked like a snakehead to me. Anyway, pretty cool box. Of course, on the back, it shows a nice little view of the game screen there. Shows all the little action things going on. Comes with a whole 2 video game variations, 1 player. So inside the box, we have our cartridge. Nice little silver label cartridge. Not bad. We also have the instruction manual, full color, which, I love the full color instruction manuals. Plus it gives like a little story, which I love the stories they put in these instruction books. Let's go ahead and read it here real quick. Once upon a time in a misty enchanted forest there lived a colony of good elves. These elves had a major problem though. Their prized mushroom garden was infested with pests. A giant centipede, a poison-spreading scorpion, a mischief-making spider, and a pesky flea. The good elves tried everything they could to rid their garden of these bugs, but nothing worked. One day, an elf named Oliver was hacking away at a poison mushroom in the garden. Suddenly he saw an unusual stick gleaming in the dirt. Just as Oliver picked up the stick, a spider jumped out from behind the mushroom and rushed at him. When Oliver waved his hands wildly to try to scare the spider away, sparks flew from the stick and the spider disappeared. "You killed the spider, you frickin' elf." "How did that happen?" Oliver wondered out loud. Could this be a magic wand? Soon Oliver had another chance to try the wand. When the scorpion scurried across a row of mushrooms, poisoning every mushroom he touched, Oliver pointed the wand at the scorpion and shouted, "Begone!" Instantly the scorpion disappeared, and the poisoned mushrooms were transformed back into normal mushrooms. "This is great! This is the tool we need to clean up our mushroom garden," Oliver shouted ecstatically. With this newfound magic wand, Oliver hid behind a mushroom. "Okay, you great centipede," he said. "Come out wherever you are. I'm ready for you now." I love these little stories. They crack me up. Gameplay is just like the arcade version of gameplay. You got your little guy at the bottom of the screen, moves around, and shoot the centipede coming down. It is a very blocky version, but the gameplay translated very well. I don't have any complaints at all with the gameplay of this on the 2600. And just like the arcade, it tells you where the best place it is to hit the centipede. And he divides up if you hit him in the wrong spot. Your enemies, the evil flea that likes to drop mushrooms. The scorpion likes to poison everything in his path. That frickin' spider. And of course our little mushrooms. Using the controller. Now it uses a joystick controller. Now the joystick controller works actually very well with this game. I don't have a bit of problem with this. I did have one of those Atari CX, I think 22 trackballs that I used on my Atari 8-bit computer that I also used on this game. Put it in joystick mode, it does work, but I find it's much easier to play the game using the joystick than the trackball on the 2600. I don't know why that is. I have better luck playing with the joystick, which you think is odd because in the arcade I'd rather play with the trackball. I'm just weird that way, I guess. Our scoring, all our points. Of course, the ever helpful hints, like shoot centipede heads to create new heads out of the body segment left behind. Since heads are worth 10 times the point value as body segments, you'll score lots of points. That is a good little helpful hint to remember. That's how you can rack up the really big scores in the arcade. So it applies to the 2600 as well. Now also, in this centipede box, as you see right down here, exclusive inside, exciting new DC Comics book. And there it is. It's a Centipede comic book. It's got some great artwork on here. A nice full color cartoon comic. It tells a little bit of a different story than what the instructions do. This one here has like an evil wizard that's doing mayhem and everything. It's a pretty neat comic book. I kind of like they do this. Now there's another game I got that I'll be covering later on in a different series. Yar's Revenge. It has a really cool comic book as well. I always thought it was cool when they would put these little extra things like the Atari Force comics and these little story comics to talk about the game that you're getting ready to play. It's kind of cool, actually. Zap! Pretty funny. Awesome. Well, that's Centipede on the Atari 2600. What are some of your thoughts on this game? How do you feel it translated to the 2600? Comment down below and let me see what you think about this game. Thanks for watching. We are Santa's elves. Do, 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 do. Oh, wait a minute. Wrong elf. Never mind.